Today, we are talking about the topic for today would be a different spirit. So, a different spirit. So, let me start from the book of Numbers, chapter 13. I would like to read a few names and let me see if you can recognize these names. So, the names are Shammua, Shaphat, Igal, Palti, Gadiel, Gadi, Amiel, Setur, Nabi, Guel. Are you able to recognize these names? Does these names sound familiar? Or maybe I'll just add two more names, which is Caleb, Joshua. I'm pretty sure that you might be able to recognize these two names. But let me just tell you the background. All the names that I have read are the leaders of every tribe, the 12 tribes of Israel, and they have been chosen to go and scout the land of Canaan. So here we see God talks to Moses and says, send your men, select the leaders of every tribe, send them to Canaan. Let them go, let them check, see how the land is, and let them come back. So here Moses chooses the 12 people from each and every tribe, the names that I have just read. He chooses each and every one, the leaders that represent their tribe. These people are not just ordinary people. They are the leaders of the tribe. They are the commanders. They are strong. They are brave. They are leaders. So when you come to leaders, the leaders, how does a leader of a group looks like? Is he like fragile? No. They are strong. They are commanders. So here we see these people have been chosen and they are asked to go down to Canaan to go and explore the land. So these people, they go down to the land to explore the land. They go down to Canaan and they just go and explore, keep exploring the land. They explore the land not just for 1 day or 2 days, but for 40 days. They explore the whole of Canaan, and in one place called Hebron, they see the descendants of Anak. So the descendants of Anak are not small people, they are big people who are called the Nephilims. The Nephilims actually is referred to as the big giants. So see, here is where Goliath actually descended from. So here they see all these things. For 40 days they go through the survey. They do a lot of surveys, and then they bring back the fruits of the land, and they go back to the people of Israel. So the Israel people are staying in the desert of Paran. So here they go back and they say, the land is truly flowing with milk and honey. It is a beautiful land. It is a fertile land. The land is fertile. There is it's a fruitful land. They see a lot of fruitfulness. They see fruits. They see everything is so fertile. Everything is so nice. The land is so beautiful. Everything is nice. But they say the people are so big. The descendants of Anak, they are so big that we look like grasshoppers in front of them. Just imagine the people here, the 10 tribe leaders, they say the names that are Shammua, Shaphat, Igal, Palti, Gadiel, Gadi, Ami, Setur, Nabi, Guel. They say we look like grasshoppers in front of them. So the moment they say this, the people of Israel are like, oh my God, are we able to go there? Grasshoppers means like just imagine the size of a man and a grasshopper in front of them. It's just a small insect. It can be like easily like stamped up and wiped out. So here we see out of the 12 people that have been sent, 10 people say they are afraid. I mean, like, we cannot go there. Those people will just destroy us. They are just fearful because they fear that if they go out and take over this land, the people of Anak or the descendants of these people, the Anak, they will just wipe them out. The Israelites, they just take out like a grasshopper, just like that. But here you see Caleb and Joshua, they say, we should go and possess the land, for we certainly can do it. So out of the 12 people, we see 10 people say cannot, but these two people, Caleb and Joshua alone, who are saying they can. So, you see, the problem here is that they started a disagreement here. Here the leaders are like, no, we cannot. So they go out and they spread this word among the Israelites, and the Israelites start to rebel. They start to like murmur. They start to gossip. Oh no, what are we going to do? We are not going to be just go there and die in front of them or die in their hands. Rather, we'll just go back to Egypt. You see, they went through a lot of journeys. God had taken them through taken them through the Red Sea, taken them through a lot of things. The God had done a lot of miracles to take them through. The God was guiding them like a cloud in the day and like a pillar of fire in the night. Even in spite of all these miracles, in spite of seeing all this, the people started to grumble. They said, I would rather go back to Egypt. I would rather go back and to be a slave there rather than to die in the hands of these people in the place God has promised to give them. You see, this negative report caused a great rebellion, and people just got caught in the emotions. They just got that they forgot God here. That they totally forgot God, and they were just thinking how to face the people in Canaan, how to face them, how to take this land, how to possess this land, because they totally forgot God, and they were just thinking how they can do it. You see, many a times here, you see, God wanted them to come out of Egypt to take to possess the land of Canaan. He didn't want them to just go and stay in the desert. He didn't want them to just go and be in the desert, but to take the promised land. That was the thing, to go forward. God wanted them to take that next step to move forward. But here, the people are stuck in one point of time, seeing the things that is in front of them, rather than seeing who is with them. They were seeing just the things in front of them, and then they say, I would rather take a backward step, because they didn't trust in their God. So many times in our life, we trust God in small decisions, but when big things come, we are like, okay, maybe this one I cannot do. I'll just pass it. I'll just try to take a shortcut, or maybe I'll just try to avoid it. So the thing is, many times fear claims our decision making. It clouds our mind. When fear comes in, when fear takes hold of us, it just blinds our eyes. It just clouds our decision making capability. It just makes us think about things that is there in front of us, what is hindering our progress, rather than thinking that God is with us. We forget to think that God is with us. We forget to see that who is with us rather than what is in front of us. That is the problem that majority of the times that we face. You see, there are three characters in Caleb that we see here. You see, these people, they didn't go by the majority of the opinion. You see, many times we see like majority of the people say cannot. We tend to agree with the majority, or we tend to agree with a group of people because we fail to understand, or we fail to see the God that is with us. Because many times it's like if there are 10 people around and they say 8 people say, no, we cannot do this. It's a big task. If somebody talks negative and says, many times we just tend to agree with it rather than to push forward, to push forward and to like say that God is with us, and through God we can do. We don't do that. Rather than we just tend to agree with the crowd and we just go backwards rather than going forward. You see, boldness is based on God's faithfulness. That is more important in our life. The boldness has to be there on God's faithfulness. It is not our external boldness. It is not about our external strength, but on God's faithfulness. God has promised to give the land of Canaan that is flowing with milk and honey to the people of Israel. He has already promised that, but in spite of God saying that, in spite of his promise, the people are like wavering. They are so wavery that they don't trust in God's faithfulness. Many a times in our lives, we tend to overlook God's faithfulness. Many a times we just take things out of our own strength, and then we fail in our life. The third point here is, for courage to be effective, they must combine with words and actions. You see, words and actions has to combine together. It cannot be just word alone and the word says something, but the action is totally different. No, it cannot be like that. Words and action has to be together, and that is how we can overcome things. In Numbers chapter 14, verse 24, it says, "But because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it." So you see, we cannot have the spirit that the herd mentality, like if somebody says a negative thing or somebody does something, we cannot just go and follow the same thing, but to trust in God and to discern it accordingly, and we need to have a different spirit. Every choice that we make in our lives, it doesn't just affect us, but also the generations after us. Here you see the leaders of the 10 leaders, the 10 tribe leaders, and their people, they were not able to see the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. They were not able to step into that. Why? Because they just wanted to take a backward step. They were like, they didn't believe, they didn't trust in God. Rather, they thought they would not be able to withstand these people that they wanted to. They did against the will of God. They took a back step. But here Caleb said, we can possess the land through God. We can go and fight them. Why? Because he trusted in God. He trusted that when God is with him, they can go. When God is with people of Israel, they can go and they can take over the land of Canaan, and they can take possession of the land. So today many of us are like the Israelites. We instead of taking the step forward, we actually take we take 40 steps forward, but we take steps behind. We take a backward step. You see, in our lives, God wants us to go forward. He doesn't want us to see back and to walk backwards because there's a hindrance in front of us, but He wants us to walk front. He wants us to walk straight. He wants us to move forward. Being content to wander in the wilderness of a fear-based faith. Many a times our faith is like a fear-based faith. When things are right, when things are good, when things are so settled, we are like, our faith is so strong. But when something comes, when some storm comes in our life, or maybe something happens in our career, or maybe something happens in our family, maybe the relationship, or something happens in our health, or something that comes, when fear takes hold, our faith starts to dangle. Our faith starts to waver. And that is exactly what we should not be doing, but even more hold on to God's promise and even more walk and holding on to Him. So in Numbers chapter 14, we clearly see that if God has promised something for us, He will provide us a way to obtain it. But many a times we make the wrong choice and refuse what God offers us, and that's why we fail to inherit what He has promised for us. So here we see the people of Israel, because they were not obedient, they didn't obey, they didn't take that step of faith, they didn't move forward. For 40 years, they were just in the wilderness. Their descendants were not able to see. That generation was not able to put their step inside Israel, inside Canaan, but their next generation was only able to see that, apart from Caleb and Joshua. So here, what is the different spirit that God is looking at? What is it that the different spirit that God wants us? You see, we need to understand that this different spirit, it cannot be manufactured by flesh. It has nothing to do with flesh. If we think that this spirit is like we can through our strength or through our practice or whatever it is that we think that it is through us, no, it cannot be manufactured by flesh. It is not our external strength, zeal, or determination. You see, all the people that have been selected to go down and to take a look at the land of Canaan are commanders or leaders of their respective tribes. They are strong people. They have a bigger zeal. They are strong, determined people. But you see the outcome of it. So it is not our external strength, zeal, or determination. And the thing that God, the different spirit is not moving forward on our vision and ambition. You see, many a times when we do things, we have our own internal vision and internal ambition. So it cannot be our vision and ambition, but to submit to the will of God so that His will, His vision, and His way is accomplished. It's not about us, it is about Him and His way. So here we also can see the example of Caleb. He's a strong guy. He's a strong guy. He's a commander, and he's a strong character, and he abides. He holds on strongly to the promise of God. We see another example who is Barnabas. You see, Barnabas is a very quiet person, and the name of Barnabas means encourager. So at that point of time, he goes down to Paul. Everybody is afraid to go near Paul. Why? Because he has been a tormentor. He has been like persecuting the Christian people. He has been like whoever is Christian or whoever is doing the Christian work, he is just going and persecuting. So even after the conversion, people were afraid to go down to him. But you see here, Barnabas going down to Paul, it was not because he was like, he's a very silent guy. It was not because he was like very strong, but by the boldness of the Spirit. He went down to Paul because he had the boldness of the Spirit, and that's where he went and encouraged Paul, and that's where they started working on the missions. So you see, the Holy Spirit longs to fall on every type of believer to make Christ known to the world. It doesn't matter whether you have serious problem or small problem. It doesn't matter whether you're strong or you're weak. It doesn't matter whether you're able to, whether you're waiting to fall. His Spirit, whether you have serious or little problem, His Spirit is waiting to fall on you and to fill you for His purpose. I just want to finish it up with an example. I just took this example from the online side, and it is about two people here. We see two people. One is Ben, and the other person is called Jay. So here you see Jay accepted Christ during his teens, and he was fervently doing the work of Christ in his life. He went to church. He started doing the missionary for the children. He did the teenage ministries, the teenagers, the next generation. He was fervently doing it, and thereafter he got married. He had children, and as life proceeded for him, he had a lot of job, and his job started strangling his neck. So meaning his job was taking most of his time, and he was not able to do the fervent nature. His closeness with God started taking a step back. It started a crack. There was a crack, and it started widening. So the relationship with God, his fervent nature with God started to reduce step by step by step. And as time proceeded, what happened was, yes, he did go to church. He did mingle with the people around. He did the missions, but his fervent nature for seeking God started to drop, and he did it for a namesake thing. So that became his nature. So that became he still prayed, he still read the Bible, he served, but he drifted from that spiritual intensity. It started slowing down. The speedness, the fastness that he was going along started to drop by, and he started to reduce his speed, and he started to drift away. So we see the another person, Jay. So he accepted Christ during his teen, and he accepted Christ, and he started doing the mission. He started doing the work of God among the children, among the teens, and from there he got married, and he started to work. And as time went by, there was a lot of work, and this work took a lot of time. But in spite of it, Jay prayed to God. Jay was like, whatever it is, whatever the work that is, I still has to give the importance to God's work. That is more important. He used to pray by this word, which comes from Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6, which says, not by my might, not my power, but by my Spirit. So you see, there was a continuous hunger for God in Jay. Even when his job demanded him, he prayed for more strength using this verse from Zechariah 4:6. So here we see two sets of people, And we see different characters here. You see the difference. One, who is Ben, he had a self-reason and will. As time proceeded, as work got a better hold of him, he came up with many reasons. He came up with his own reasons, saying, okay, maybe today I'm busy, tomorrow let me see. Tomorrow it's the same. So it just got postponed. So the work of God started reducing in his life. But here in Jay's life, we see the continual trust in God. Next, we see in Ben the mind of the flesh. But Jay here, he prayed for the freedom from the bondage of flesh. You see, when we are held on by the flesh, we just get things for granted. We just take a lax of things. But here, Jay continues to pray for the freedom from the bondage of flesh. Here, Ben is afraid to get caught in the sin. But here, Jay, we see, is afraid of offending God. Here, Ben is like looking that he comes to church, all those things, because he's afraid of losing his company, his companionship, his people around him. He's afraid of losing the people around him. So it becomes a ritual kind of thing to come to church. It becomes a ritual, more of a ritual. It becomes more of a meeting place for him, rather than seeking God, rather than getting back on track, rather than rising up. It became a ritual for him. But here in Jay's, he's afraid of grieving God's spirit. He's afraid of that, and he continues to hold on to God. He continues to pray. He continues to ask God for strength, because he knew that the moment there is a slight distraction, he might get away from God. So he continues to pray by this word, not by my might, not by power, but by my spirit. The final thing, what you see between Ben and Jay is, Ben does what the society requires. Because many a times in our life, it becomes a ritual in our life. Sunday morning, I need to go to church. I come back, I just have food, I take a rest. So it becomes a ritual. But here, we see Jay, he does what God desires. So one side, we see Ben, he's doing what the society requires. But the other side, we see what God desires. So let us just introspect ourselves. Are we doing what the society requires, or are we doing what God desires from us? Let's just introspect ourselves in that aspect. In short, having a different spirit means to live a consecrated life. So what does a consecrated life means? In Greek, con means with. Secreted means holy. So it means with a life outside our own. It is a life filled with the Spirit which comes from God alone. So we need to live a life which is filled with the Spirit which only God can give to us. I just want to end saying this. You see, in this world, there is a limit to everything that we can have. But what I can say defiantly, what I can say strongly is, we can have as much as Jesus as possible, as much as we want. There is no limit to that. No matter how much ever we want, we can just want Jesus. We can just have it. You see, God doesn't hold back his anointing from those who press on his high calling. God never holds us. When we seek God fervently in our life, when we continue to seek God that fervently, without any gap, without any splitting, or without any gap in our life, it is in response to that, God will give. It is our response to his offer that determines inheriting his will for our lives. So when we seek God fervently in our lives, based on that, God will give us what his plan is therein for our lives. So it is our response to his offer that determines inheriting his will for our lives.